Now we're going to do the sample for edge stitching. Top stitching and edge stitching oftentimes get confused. We just did top stitching. Top stitching is going to be used for decoration. When you do edge stitching, you are stitching close to the edge, very similar to what the name is suggesting, but you're going to be doing smaller stitches, so you're going to stay at 2.5. And the closer you get to the edge usually is the more high quality of the garment. So you're going to be cutting using 17A and 17B. We have them here. Again, the blue is going to be your garment piece. The red is your facing. We are going to start with a 5/8 inch seam allowance, which is going to create a nice plain seam. Your stitch length is at 2.5. Because you are using a permanent stitch, we will be back stitching. So go ahead and back stitch. When you get to the edge, go ahead and finish with a back stitch. Here is our plain seam. This is how it's going to start. Your garment piece is your outside piece. Your facing piece is going to be inside the garment. You're not going to see this piece from the outside. You are going to be using facings to add stability and to create a clean edge. When you fold this over and press it, you want to make sure that the seam is nice and tight all the way to the top. We want to avoid creating a pucker and creating that lip effect. So when we press it, make sure that you are pulling the facing over nice and tight and creating a nice tight press all the way across the top. Now that we've pressed it, you have the garment piece on the outside, the facing piece in the middle or on the inside, a nice clean press along the top. Unlike the top stitch that was measured up along the edge of the presser foot and use a longer stitch, an edge stitch is right on the edge. What we're trying to do is hold the facing in place but make a nice stitch right along the edge. We are hoping to do it about 1/8 of an inch. So you're basically coming just inside the presser foot. You can line up your material with the inside of your toe. So if you look right here, outside of your foot here, inside of your toe here, that we're going to be lining up our edge right on the inside here. You will be doing a back stitch because you are stitching two things together. You are stitching the garment piece to the facing piece. So once you start, you're at 2.5. You can make your stitches slightly smaller if you would like, but you do not have to. So 2.5 would be just fine. Back stitch. You go nice and slow. You want to make sure that you're keeping a nice straight line. What that is allowing is for a clean stitch all the way along the edge, which is going to give your garment a high quality look. Once you get to the edge, go ahead and back stitch. So this is your edge stitch, much closer to the edge than the top stitch. If we compare the two, this top stitch here, you can see is a much larger space from the edge. It's also a larger stitch length. Edge stitch is going to give a very nice, clean finish. Top stitch is going to be much more decorative.